Hello there, and welcome to the final part of our Blender character tutorial series. In this part, we're going to be doing some final touches here and there, setting up the scene, and doing the final render. So as I mentioned in the previous video, we're going to be using a new logo here for the top. And this is just some simple modeling. I guess one tip I can give you guys is that when you're adding new elements to the outfit or to the character, for example, in this case, we're adding a logo, make sure that when you add the logo or whatever you're adding, that your character is in your default A pose/T pose. Right now, my character is posed. You can see the legs are crossed. And there we go. I unposed it. I unposed it now, and now I'm adding it. But yeah, don't forget to do that. Now, technically speaking, you could add elements while the character is posed. That's 100% doable. But if you want to actually apparent that new element, for example, the logo, to the rig, make sure that you do it in the default pose. We talked about this last time when we were posing those parenting those top borders. So I'm just reminding you guys. So here I want to talk about the holy trinity for all of the modifiers. So we have our classic subdivision modifier, then we have our shrink wrap, and then we have our solidify. Those three modifiers are basically my bread and butter. I use them all the time. You subdivide a thing, then you shrink wrap it to another thing, and then you add solidify. It's a classic combo. And then another thing you can do is after solidifying, you can bevel, or you can add another subdivision modifier below solidify. But it all depends really on what kind of thing you want to make. Now, I talked about, subdivision, not subdivision, but shrink wrap and the armature modifier going together. You can technically use them together, but make sure that the armature modifier is near the top. Usually it's at the very top or just below the mirror modifier. The mirror modifier should be first, then the armature modifier should be second. And then you can have everything else. You can have, for example, just a simple example. First is mirror, then armature, then for example, let's say subdivision, shrink wrap, solidify, and then you can add another subdivision if you want, or a bevel, That's usually the stack you go for. Now, obviously, you don't have to do it that way, but I find that that's usually the one that gives you the best results. As you can see here, I'm moving the armature. I should move it to be at the top, but it's fine if you don't do that. So as you can see here, we have an issue with the shrink wrap modifier and the rig modifier. So I decided, let me just put the armature near the top, see if that fixes it. And as you can see here, the results are better, but it looks broken. So in this case, I decided to instead of like trying to fix it, I'm just going to apply the actual shrink wrap, and that way I don't have to deal with it. As you can see here, it looks mostly fine. So let's talk about shape keys. I don't know if I mentioned them in the past, but basically I clicked on the shape key tab, there's a plus, I clicked it twice, and the first time you get like a basic key, and then you get a key 1, and then you will see a value slider. Make sure that you change that to 1. And what basically that allows you to do is you can then go into edit mode or in sculpt mode and just move things around with the mesh, and as you would normally do, and position things and fix things, right, with clippings and stuff. But this also allows you to go back to the original mesh, so you can change the value back to 0 and you get the original mesh. So it allows you to do fixes basically. It also allows you to do a bunch of other stuff as well, but let's say you pose a character, and while you're posing her, a bunch of like clipping stuff happens. The outfit is clipping to the body. It wasn't clipping before, but when you posed her, due to maybe bad weight painting or something like that, it starts clipping. Well, this allows you to just fix that clipping in that pose. So as you can see here, we're now in the pose mode. And we're posing the character. She's going to be working out on a machine, you will see. Now you can see some issues with the butt. When you move the legs up, the butt doesn't deform correctly. It just basically, the butt disappears. And the crotch area also looks really bad. One way to fix this is to just have better weight painting in that area, or you can add custom bones to your armature, to the Rigify rig. I'm going to be having a special tutorial video, just like a pretty short video, maybe like half an hour long, explaining some rigging tips and tricks, and telling you how to rig a character properly, how to add custom bones, so that Rigify recognizes everything. But that's going to be in the future. Now, if you're wondering, well, how are we going to fix this? It looks really bad. Well, I'm going to be using a multi-resolution modifier, and then I'm going to be sculpting that area around the butt and the crotch into how it's supposed to look like. Now, I'm not going to be spending too much time on it. I'm going to be only fixing the areas that are going to be seen in the final render. Because I don't know if I talked about this in the past, but when it comes to the final render and fixing things, because when you're posing stuff, things tend to break, and usually when it comes to those fixes, I only fix the stuff that I need to fix that you can see in the final render. If there's something broken but you can't see it, I personally don't really care. I respect people who are perfectionists, who fix every little thing, even though it might not need fixing. I respect them. The products they put out are amazing, But usually what they sacrifice is time, and the stuff they post usually takes a lot of time. Another tip I can give you guys is um, make sure that you already have a camera and lights. Well, mostly, yeah, camera and lights already set up even before posing the character. Now you don't they don't have to be perfect. You don't have to position the lights just perfect in a camera, but make sure that you have it approximately there, because what might end up happening is, let's say you pose your character, you spend so much time posing it, and then you add the lights in the camera, and then something just doesn't look right. Something just doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, and then you have to like fix the pose, basically do a lot of things again, and you waste a lot of time. Now obviously maybe you like doing it that way. Who am I to judge? If you have your workflow, that's fine. This is just a tip of what I usually do. It usually doesn't take that long, just by having the lights and the camera there is going to help you out, maybe to notice some issues ahead of time. So here we're just doing simple modeling for the machine, workout machine. Once again, I'm using just a Google reference, just that I found by Googling, and just following that and trying to make it as believable as possible. As you can see here, I'm pretty much mirroring everything to basically save myself time. I guess just a quick reminder, I just used the knife tool right there. You can access the knife tool by pressing K. And then you can use it to click and drag. And it creates basically like edges. It basically cuts the mesh and creates edges. Very useful. I guess just another reminder as well. You can, for example, select part of your mesh and then press Shift D to duplicate it. And then while that duplicated mesh is still selected, you just press P and it will give you like a pop-up menu, and you can just click where it says separate by selection, and that will separate that duplicated mesh that we, duplicated obviously, into its own, object. And that duplicated object will have all the previous modifiers as the original object. So if you have a bunch of modifiers on a single mesh and you want to duplicate them without all that work, you can just select a small portion of that mesh, for example like a face or even just a vertex, and then you can just duplicate it and separate it. So here I'm just adding a little bit of bevel, so it's not like razor sharp. Usually when it comes to segments, I just use 3. I feel like that's like the sweet spot. All right, guys. Let's talk about one trick that apparently a lot of people don't know, but that's fine. I didn't know it as well up until the moment I did. But yeah, uh, basically, if you first make sure that you have individuals origins set, you can. It's at the very top next to the snap mode button, and where it says global, and then the button that is on the right side is the one that you're looking for. Make sure that you set to individual origins, and then you can select the finger bones, which are those like square looking things that are like kind of like an orangish color. You select those, and then you just press S to scale, and once as you scale them down, you will notice that the fingers bent into a fist. And it's very, very helpful to give you like a basic positioning, and then you can use the actual green circles to, position the fingers where you want them to be, exactly. Another thing I can give you guys like a tip: when you're, manipulating these bones around the fingers, make sure that you only scale and rotate. Don't try to, move them. Don't press G and move them. I mean, you can obviously, and that's stopping you. But if you do that, then you might get unwanted results. You're gonna move it into a position that, doesn't look good, and it's better to just try to get into that position by rotating and scaling. Now, obviously, you can move it. There's nobody stopping you, but just, a tip I can give you guys. As you can see here, my finger rigging or pushing skills are still, very beginner. So yeah. I was more concerned with how it's gonna look on the outside, from the outside perspective. That, I didn't really care how they look on the inside perspective. So here I'm just adding some basic materials for the metal and the rubber parts of the machine. So I decided also to give the rubber materials some bump map textures. Just using a simple noise texture. I made the detail on the roughness max. And I also made sure that the texture coordinates object is plugged into the actual vector for the noise texture. I guess one thing I never did mention before is, if you've been paying attention, then at certain points in this video you might have seen that in the bottom left corner there was like an eye texture. Basically what I did was I just looked on the Google, I typed in like anime eyes and I downloaded an image, and then I slapped that image on the actual eyes for the character. And that was pretty much it, really. There are ways of doing procedural eyes with nodes, but this time around I decided to just grab an image texture and just place it on the eyes. I guess we can talk about the materials. I never really talked about this because it's one of those like fairly like beginner things that you learn in Blender, how to have multiple materials on one object, but I guess I can just quickly talk about it in case somebody's curious. Basically, you have, let's say you have one material and you want to add a new one. You click on the plus sign and then you click on the drop down menu that you just saw me click there, select the second material. Okay, now I have two materials, but you have to assign which parts of the mesh are going to belong to the second material. So you go into edit mode, select which parts you want, and then while you're still in edit mode, you click on the second material and then you click on assign. And now basically those parts that you've selected are going to have the second material, while everybody else will just have the original first material. And you can have as many materials as you want doing it that way. So here I'm adding a noise material to the actual metal itself, but this time we're adding a mapping node as well. And by doing it this way, we're going to be able to get that brushed aluminum look. I just first need to adjust some things, and then once I zoom in and adjust the mapping node, you kind of see that brushed aluminum look. You'd be surprised how many materials you can make with just noise and Musgrave, Voronoi texture, waves in Blender. You just need to manipulate the material in just the right way, and you can get pretty cool looking results. And there are some node gurus out there that are just super crazy, especially with the new geometry nodes. It's like, you take a sphere and turn it into a hat. It's like, damn. So there you can notice some bad weight painting. Her face, it looks very sad. So basically what I did here is I clicked on the body, went into weight paint mode, and then on the right you have a list of bones you can select. And here I'm just using the gradient tool. And my main goal here is to make sure that the head is all red. And then I'm slowly taking away the weight painting here around the neck area. So just moving it up like that. Now there is actually better ways of doing weight painting than I'm doing it right here. Well, not better ways, but more efficient is the word I'm looking for. And I'll be showing you those ways in that aforementioned future rigging tutorial video. So now I can see here that she's not really sad anymore. And for those who are wondering, maybe a little bit confused, basically this character is going to have two poses. The first pose is going to be the one that we saw at the start of the video, where she's, her hands are on her hips and, she has her eyes, or not eyes, legs crossed. And that's basically going to be the first render. And, I made sure to have like a backup of it. I saved the blend file. And then I started working on this pose, and then I saved another blend file just for this pose. Because, just to be careful. And this is going to be the second pose. So here I was trying to fix this problem that we are having, but unfortunately it was just bad weight painting that I should have fixed, but I didn't, so I had to spend a lot of time, well, a fair amount of time fixing it with sculpting. Oh wait, hold on, maybe I'm gonna fix it actually in the end. So it looks like I ended up using shape keys instead of the multi-resolution modifier, which is also fine. So here, in between cuts, I adjusted the camera. Basically, I made it like a square, like a 1x1, and I also adjusted the focal length. And now here I'm just tweaking the position of the camera. So here I'm, rotating the eyes. I make sure that when you have both of the eyes selected, you have individual origins set, and then you can double click R on your keyboard, and this will basically spin them, and then you can use this to rotate them to look towards the camera. And make sure that you have shape keys, or shape key I should say, they're enabled so that if you want to go back to how the eyes were originally looking, in the default pose, you have that option. So here I decided to get rid of the base, because the base is going to be only used for the first, pose. I decided that for the second pose, we're gonna have an infinite background. And if you don't know what an infinite background is, you'll see here in just a second. Believe it or not, this infinite background is actually used in real-life studios as well. Like this exact thing, you will see. So you grab a plane, you make a wall, then you bevel it. Shade it smooth. And then I recommend that you go into camera mode, camera view, and rotate it so that it's like properly aligned. So here I decided to kind of subdivide the weights to give them a little bit more smoother look. But when you do that, you change the way the mesh looks, so you have to add some loop cuts here and there. Anyways, here I'm adjusting the background color. I think I ended up using a gradient with multiple colors. Yeah, there it is. I think I just deleted the hoodie, or maybe gave it like its own collection, and then I just hid the collection. And now I'm adding the gradient to the background. I think that I ended up UV unwrapping the background, which is very simple. All I have to do is just select everything and then UV unwrap, because it's just one island really. Simple, geometry. No need to create any like UV scenes. There we go. That was the moment where I activated my big brain mode and decided, you know what? Yeah, let's just UV unwrap it and get the desired look. I also made sure to change the color ramp type to be ease. You can see there, it's ease. So we're nearing the end of the tutorial series. If you stayed with me till the end, thank you. I know not a lot of people are going to be watching this fully. It is long. Hopefully this will give you a lot of information, just in general, really. Here I'm just doing some final tweaks here and there, and then I'm going to be rendering it out. I guess I can talk about the render settings. It's nothing really special. I think I do between like 500 and 600 passes in Eevee, and then I just enabled all the settings, and I changed the color. In the color management tab, you can change it to be filmic, and then I either use high contrast or very high contrast, and then all the other settings I just max out. I crank all the settings up, and yeah, that's pretty much really it when it comes to rendering. I render in as a PNG usually, 16-bit color, no compression, and then I bring it into Photoshop, do just slight tweaks here and there, nothing major. I'm not really a good Photoshop dude, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.